Order! Order! You are an incorrigible delinquent at times. Behave yourself, man!
And we're going to begin with a story that doesn't really lend itself to debate, I don't think. Or maybe it does. Are girls cleverer than boys? Hit the numbers now. Seriously, spare London, spare the country, one of my interminable introductions. Are girls cleverer than boys? 03456 6060973. That's a slightly simplistic question. It's built upon the publication today of the GCSE results, which are predicted to show pretty conclusively that girls, for the millionth year in succession, outperform boys at GCSE level. The gap, I think, shrinks considerably by A level. I'm not sure. I want to chuck this all out in the realm of speculation. And it's nice that this happens in the school holidays, because teachers can tell us. One thing I've learned, risk of sounding like an old fogey, I don't think being young now is like it was when I was young. When I was young, maybe it was just me and the school I went to and the circles I mixed in. If you've noticed, if you follow the programme closely, the school I went to is on the front page of the Times today at the centre of a sex abuse allegation scandal, but the legal situation is such that we can't talk about it. It's nothing to do with me. It's a different school from the one I've told you about, where we knew that one of our teachers was an abuser. But if you wonder why, if you've tuned in and expected me to be talking about it, I can't really, because the legal situation is pretty clear. But it was quite cool not to work very hard. I was at an all-boys school, and at least I say that now, and I thought it was quite cool not to work very hard. Maybe I was an even bigger idiot than I realised at the time. Maybe everyone else was working quite hard. I'm just trying to work out reasons why girls would do better than boys. Boys boast about how little work they've done. I'm just putting this out there, all right? I've got daughters, but they haven't reached the age yet where this would become pertinent. I can't quite imagine girls boasting about coasting. Sounds like an album title. Is that right? Is that part of it? Hit the numbers, seriously. 03456 6060973 is the number you need. We would boast about coasting. You know, that kind of Boris Johnson approach where you cram it all in the night before. Oh, we were so cool. Oh, I was such a dude. Did my finals, university, spent about a week in London. Library, absolutely nailing everything, crammed it all into my brain. My brain was, to quote Jeremy Corbyn, absolutely ram-packed with information, and also seems pertinent to Jeremy Corbyn. It all fell out again a week later. I couldn't tell you anything, really, that I used to pass my degree, but I thought it was so cool to do it all so quickly, to be so slapdash. Essay crisis, they used to call it. I got an essay crisis. I'm going to write them all in the weekend while mainlining Nescafe and popping Pro Plus like they were going out of fashion. Oh, yeah, what a dude. The rest of the time I'll be out clubbing and partying. Yeah. What an absolute... I've often said to you that I think higher education's wasted on the young. I wish I could go back to college now. I wish I could do a degree now. I'd actually read all the books, not just the revision guides and the cheats notes. I'd actually read it all. I talk to these academics that you have the... Anyway, I'm getting ahead of myself. We're talking about GCSEs. As a teacher, or as indeed I think this would include most people listening to the programme, if you have been a child at any point in the past, why do girls do so much better at GCSE? And the question I really want to move you on to then is when does the pendulum swing? When do we men overtake women? Because we usually end up earning more and we end up populating the highest positions professionally on a hugely misrepresentative scale. Much more likely as a man to achieve X, to be a High Court judge, to be, well, Prime Minister, actually. You are much more likely as a man, Theresa May notwithstanding. You're much more likely to be a senior manager, to be the chief executive of a FTSE 100 company. To be a head teacher, I think, you're still way more likely as a man. And that's quite strange, because so many teachers are women. The profession is very, very populated by women, and yet the top jobs still increasingly, or not increasingly, but still disproportionately go to men. 8 minutes after 10. The GCSE results published today will be good news and bad news for the kids who've taken them. Ferrari taught me years ago, when I got here I was still wet behind the ears. I used to think it was quite fun on exam result day to come on air and sort of say, oh, it's not like it used to be, they've all gone downhill, they don't mean anything anyway. And Nick pointed out on air several times, because his kids are older than mine, that there'll be children listening who've just worked their fingers to the bone for the last year, who absolutely think that their entire future depends upon this little bit of paper that slips through their postbox, slips through their letterbox today. So we don't do that anymore. It's disrespectful to you and it's disrespectful to them. But I think we can have a conversation about the gender imbalance. It's more than 25 years since the GCSEs were brought in. I was the first year to sit them, the very first year. But I was at an all-boys school, so I've got no way of answering the question about why girls do better. My friend Scott, who takes to Twitter regularly to abuse and lampoon me, was mocking some of my new invitations to you to ring in yesterday. I said there's absolutely no prospect whatsoever of us having a scrap. It's a useful way. There's 750,000 people listening to this programme now. I want to get as many of you involved in the actual conversations that we have as possible. And I know that sometimes the more heated end of the debates can be a little bit off-putting. It can discombobulate you. So I try to find some subjects every day that are a little bit more voyage of discovery, if you like, than necessarily springboard into a scrap. And this is very much one of them. If you've been looking for your opportunity to get stuck in on LBC, to make your debut, then this would be a lovely... And you've got an answer to the question. Don't just ring in to say hello. You need to answer the question that I'm asking. This would be a lovely opportunity to do so. It's 10 after 10. Girls have outperformed boys in GCSE grades A star to C every year since the examination system was brought in more than 25 years ago. The simplest of questions, why? Seriously, why? 0345 6060 973. And we'll move from that to the point, if you like, the point at which the pendulum swings back. When do boys overtake girls? When did you as a woman feel that you were being overtaken by your male contemporaries or classmates? Does it happen at university? College? Does it happen on your first day at work? Does that happen a little bit further down the line? I have no clue. I have no answer to any of these questions, which means that I really need your help. Professor Alan Smithers, who has carried out the analysis, great name Smithers, he said girls are a long way ahead of boys. They do better in 47 of the 49 subjects. They're 15 percentage points ahead in English. So this isn't some little wrinkle. This isn't some little sort of nuance. This is a big gap. This is clear blue water. 15 percentage points ahead in English. That means they're better at communicating. Your grasp of language is your best key to communicating with other people. So girls are 15% better than boys effectively at communicating with other people, and yet 5 years down the line most of them will feel that they have been either caught up or overtaken by boys. Why do girls do so much better at the age of 16 in the classroom than boys do? Do they mature earlier? Are they actually cleverer? Would you really be able to look me in the eye and say that you think you are more intelligent on average as a 16-year-old girl than a 16-year-old boys? What have you got? 11 minutes after 10. In the next hour, we're going to turn our attention to that incredibly poignant Prince William story. But in this hour, Philly Boots. 73.1% of female students awarded at least a C grade, and it dwarfs the comparative figure for boys. Do you know, I didn't share a classroom with a girl after the age of 6. We didn't really have any girls at my school. The idea, I wonder if we'd have done better if we did have. I suspect not. It was bad enough trying to show off to each other, but if there'd been girls there to show off to, I don't think we ever would have got anything done. And that might be part of it. And boys are there trying to impress the girls are there trying to ignore the boys. And 16-year-old girls very rarely interested in 16-year-old boys. 16-year-old girls want to go out with someone who's got a car. If I can cast my mind back that far. 16-year-old boys sitting in the same classroom with the same teacher and the same books, studying the same curriculum. In the case of English, you're going to do 15% less well. And I just want to know why. You can email james@lbc.co.uk. You can text me on 84850. You can tweet at Mr. James OB. It's a great picture, actually, if you follow me on Twitter. It shows Iranian police giving a woman a ticket for not covering up enough, and someone has juxtaposed it quite brilliantly, referring back to yesterday's programme, to those French police giving a woman a ticket for covering up too much. Strange times we live in, so have a look at that. But if you want to email, james@lbc.co.uk is the address that you need. If I had to answer it, if you really pushed me, why would Jazz is unhappy? We're ignoring the question of class. Bring the question of class in, but at the moment these differences in, you can't accuse me of ignoring the question of class. Some people accuse me of never talking about anything else. But these results hold true across the class divide. It is true that gender is going to be a bigger indicator of how well you do at GCSE than almost anything else, and I truly don't know why. It's, Suzanne thinks, quite an easy question to answer. As we've been saying since the dawn of time, the education system is geared towards how girls learn and the rate at which they reach developmental milestones. A couple of you are telling me that. GCSEs work to the advantage of girls. They can focus on multiple subjects and perform well across the board. Well, ideally, everybody should be able to do that. And because I haven't sat any since 1989, it may well be that if you've sat yours a little bit more recently, you can put some flesh on the bones of that theory. GCSEs are designed in a way that suits girls better than boys. Can you explain that to me? I don't quite see it myself. And if you're a teacher and you've got a handle on this, I'd love to know what it is. Just as the father of two little girls, I love this idea that they're going to do better than boys at GCSE, but I hate the notion that by the time they're 10 years older, they're going to have been overtaken by intellectually inferior people. Give me a heads up. And I can guarantee that if you hit the numbers now, you will get through. It's been absurdly busy this week. Considering the weather, it's actually unbelievable how busy our switchboard has been. To pick up your phone and pay me the compliment of calling in when it's practically sweltering outside it's been quite remarkable. But on this one, I can promise you right now that if you hit the numbers, you will get through. We'll be talking in a matter of moments. 0345 6060 973. Why do you think girls, and as a parent, you might just be looking at your son and daughter, why do girls not just do better than boys at GCSE, but so much better than boys at the age of 16, when everything has not just evened out by 10 years down the railroad, it has actually been overtaken? I'll take any answer you've got, because personally, I've got next to nothing.
James O'Brien on LBC.
18 minutes after 10, some grim news breaking. Sussex police believe that the 5 people who died in the sea at Camber Sands were in their late teens and early 20s and had come from the Greater London area. Please, 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 if you're going to the seaside, swat up on riptides. It is absolutely staggering what the sea can do, even from a standing start. And we know so little about it, don't we? We really do. Unless you make the efforts to educate yourself. So please, 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 if you're going to the seaside, do that. 90 minutes after 10 is the time. Looking at the GCSE results today and wondering why girls routinely do so much better than boys. And I will take, as I've said, any answer you've got, because the gap is big. So some of these answers will provide part of the reason why, but why? I mean, 15 percentage points ahead in English. That's huge. 0345 6060 973. Hit the numbers now, you will get through. Amanda is in Bristol. Amanda, what's going on?
Hi, James. Well, I'm about a year older than you, so I did the old O-levels.
I did both, actually. I did six O-levels in 1988, and then, no, in 1987, and then half a dozen GCSEs in 1988.
Oh, right. Well, don't you remember when we did O-levels, they were purely exams sat in the exam room?
Yes.
And the GCSEs, a lot of it's it was coursework throughout the year.
Yes.
So that might explain different methods. I mean, and exams based on memory, coursework's a different thing, isn't it?
Why would coursework suit girls more than boys?
I don't know. I'm not some sort of expert, but I think that's could be the difference. Because coursework now, it's, you could get your friends to help out your parents, a computer.
Do you think boys and girls have different brains? Do you think they actually think differently?
I don't know. I just remember it. It was exams and it was memory. It's not even about different brains. Perhaps it's a different lifestyle. Because I couldn't ever be bothered with coursework.
Well, you're not very female then, under your own analysis.
Well, possibly not. I mean, I remember I did my A-levels. I didn't do the coursework, so I only got D at A-level. And
you think that that's more like a boy? A boy is going to be able to turn up on the day, do the business, and clear off.
It might be the difference, mightn't it?
Yeah, it's a thought. I can't remember. Did boys do worse than girls at O-levels or better than girls at O-levels? Can you remember?
I haven't a clue. I'm just offering that, and that was the only thing I could think of.
That'll do for me, Amanda. 21. I'm going to go with respect, though. I'm going to give you a D- for that.
Okay.
Is that all right? Or would you like to appeal?
I'd like to appeal. I don't think I did that bad.
All right, I'll give you a C.
Okay, all right.
21 minutes after 10. 0345 6060 973. I've wanted to have a conversation about whether men and women's brains are really wired differently for years. Today's probably not the day to do that, but if you want to bring it into the conversation, you're more than welcome to do so. Because I don't know how you would actually map it. How you'd actually sort of prove it. We've all read that book, Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus. That's more about your attitude to love and life. But in terms of your attitude to learning, would there be something biologically different? And we haven't heard from any teachers. Come on, teachers. Come on, you've had your line. 0345 6060 973. It's 10:21. Barry's in Norwood. Barry, what do you reckon?
Hi there, good morning. I'm a proud father of a boy and a girl, right? And I can tell you, they are totally different. They're wired totally different. And I'd also coach.
How old are they?
They're both similar ages. One's just starting secondary. One's towards the end of primary.
Okay.
Right.
And when you say they're wired differently, what do you mean?
Well, I always phone up and tell you about what my daughter asked me. Right? She's inquisitive. She's attentive. She wants to learn. She loves school. Right? When I go to their parents' evening, they'll tell me she's the best student in the world. She so loves school.
Yeah, but that means she's better than all the other girls. It doesn't mean she's a typical girl.
All the girls in her class are the same.
Really?
All of them are the same. Yeah. And when I coach rugby with the boys, right, I'll coach rugby with the boys, and I also go and see my daughter do stuff as well with girls. That you can just tell them, go over there and do something, and they will organise themselves into an orderly, efficient line and do whatever they need to do, with no quibbles. With boys, they'll just pile into a heap, and then they'll put their heads together and start smashing each other to bits, and that's just how they operate.
So they're not less clever. They're just less engaged.
They engage differently. Because if you give my daughter a field to run across and say, go ahead, girl, race him, she may win because she's pretty quick, but he will love it. He will absolutely love it. This is what he wants to do. He needs to do it. He needs to run. He's like a gazelle. I need to be on the move. Whereas she wants to
I don't know why, Barry, but while you're talking, I can't help thinking that you're describing girls as cats and boys as dogs.
They're kind of the same.
That's what it sounds like, doesn't it? It's not just me. It's face, chase. Then you got the cat over there going, yeah, everything's under control.
Yeah, okay. With my daughter, right, she's always walking around with an A4 pad. She wants to plan things, right? And she's, I've got a great idea. And then she'll start planning and plotting this den or this dungeon or whatever else she's got to do. Whereas him, can we play football? Can we play tennis? Can we run? Can we ride? Can we, and it's always, can we hop, bounce, skip? There's always something that he wants to do.
And that's a challenge that teachers would probably recognise. And so you're making a case for single-sex education, really, aren't you? And not mixing them up. When do you think? And I know this is some way down the road for you, as it is for me as well as a father. When do you think it swings back? Because boys generally end up ahead of girls as adults in by most measures in the workplace. Obviously, there'll be issues like family and parenting, but generally speaking, it would seem that the boys overtake the girls at some point. When do you think that is?
I think it's towards teenagers. I mean, bear in mind, I think puberty has a lot to do with it as well. And girls are designed to, I think, evolutionary. They have to get themselves prepared more because, in their mind, we go through puberty, and that draws a line that makes them different from being a child. Whereas boys don't have a sense of puberty, so they just continue being a child for as long as.
Just get hairier.
You're still a child now, so am I. We're how we are. Just being hairier children.
It's just funny, isn't it? If we were getting this lecture from Millie Tant, we'd all be up in arms. All our sort of masculinity would feel threatened. But a couple of fellas suggesting together boys are sort of basically Labradors who never grow up, and because it's two blokes doing it, we've got the men's right movement up in arms. But that would explain at 16 why girls are so far ahead. Just to recap, they're more mature, they're more capable of concentrating, they're more interested in the world around them, and they're more likely to be undistracted by the appeal of a bone, to put it in a nutshell.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. You just got to throw a ball for a dog, and he's going to chase it all day. And that's the same as a boy.
They get distracted by a fly running up and down. I don't know if I necessarily like this analysis as a man, but as the father of two little girls, I love it. Do you want to challenge Barry? And you can be as sort of sophisticated as you want on this one. You really can. 0345 6060973. Incorrigible FCA is possessed of access to figures and data that is often staggering to me, and he's done it again today. At the age of 7, the mean IQ of girls is 100.6 points and boys is 99.4. At the age of 16, the mean IQ of girls is 99.2. Boys is 100.8. So by the age of 16, boys have already overtaken girls on simple IQ, but they still lag behind massively on exam results. Why? 0345 6060973. I quite like some of what Barry said, and a lot of you are piling in on the coursework argument as well. I'm not necessarily persuaded by that. Monty goes the other way. He writes, girls are better at learning parrot fashion without necessarily understanding the subject. Most people are suggesting that suits boys better, Monty, I have to say. He says it's a form of tunnel vision. It's like learning the script of a play. Boys' brains work differently and they lack concentration because they spend time trying to work out how things work. girls generally couldn't care less. I couldn't disagree with you more. I'd love to know what you base that observation on. In my experience, girls are a lot more, unless you're talking about an engine or something like that, girls are a lot more interested in, for example, the mechanics of a play. Otherwise, how the hell are they going to get 15% more in English exams than boys do? 0345 6060973 is the number you need. It's 10:27. Carol's in Stanmore. Carol, what would you like to say?
I think you just hit the nail on the head, maybe without realising it.
Yeah, well.
Girls, at GCSE, there are certain subjects that are compulsory. Therefore, girls are more likely to adapt themselves to doing something that might not be of their interest. Whereas when you come to A-level, there are no compulsories. You can choose what you like to be good at. And so maybe the dedication that girls invest in subjects that maybe they don't like or not so good at is not a factor in A-levels.
I was just wondering what nail I'd hit, and I don't think I hit any nails. I think I hit my thumb.
You did. You said girls are supposed will go into the analysis of a play more.
Yes.
They'll be more inclined, but a boy won't, because when little boys are wanting to be occupied by their mothers or fathers, what do they told to do? Go in the garden, kick a ball around, be active, and so that's what they do. Girls will sit and play and do things, maybe do puzzles, maybe read books. You know, that's gender. And there are certain things that we direct children towards doing which will affect their later lives. So, little girl sits down, plays, is methodical. Little boy goes out and rams a ball at something.
Or climbs up their dad or jumps off the nearest wall. I quite like this idea. Are we casting boys in a slightly uncharitable light today, Carol?
No, I don't think so.
Are you sure? I mean, the last fellow was describing them as uncontrollable Labradors.
No, I think we're casting the parents in a bad light because they're not encouraging their boys to do things that are going to help them with their GCSEs.
I like this. So it's not. No one's seeing it just as sort of accidental, and most people are seeing it as evidence of some fundamental differences that aren't necessarily judgmental differences, are they? I think we probably all recognise what you describe and what Barry describes. When Carol, could I possibly suggest that your GCSEs or O levels are at least a few years behind you now?
Several, but I'm still teaching because I tutor for 11 plus.
Oh, good. Well, then you're perfectly qualified on this. When do boys... is it at A-level, then? Are you suggesting that boys get the whip hand, so to speak?
Yeah, because they're able to pursue what is their natural interest. There is another factor that bothers me as well.
Go on.
Girls might not be so interested in doing so well in their A-levels because of the glass ceiling. We are withering, what's the word? Getting away from that, we are maybe relaxing that. And it should be noted that in medical school and law school, there are more girls entering than boys.
Yes, and yet in the really big jobs in hospitals and law firms, the boys are massively overrepresented.
Back to the glass ceiling.
Yeah. But if they're so brilliant at everything, how come they haven't smashed the glass ceiling to pieces?
Because of the maternal instinct, or what they're trained to believe is
controversial. So they can't be ruthless at work because of the maternal instinct.
And the way people will judge them.
I love this. So Carol's saying things that if a man said them would upset a lot of women. Barry's saying things that if a woman said them would upset a lot of men. But because it was the other way round, they reach our ears a lot less controversially. There's probably something in that simple observation that explains the difference between men and women as well. It's 10:30. Hit the numbers now. You will get through, I promise. 0345 60973. Sam sees the funny side. My girlfriend is working in a hospital right now, James, as a doctor. I'm here listening to your show, so the pendulum doesn't always swing back. What are you suggesting? Are you suggesting that being a hospital doctor is intellectually less taxing than listening to this programme? Outrageous. And we're just trying to work out... I love this, the school holidays. We should have just done it straight instead of trying to dress it up in academic analysis. Who's better, boys or girls? 0345 6060973. Barry turned it neatly into a little bit sort of cat versus dog, his betrayal of boys, wondering why boys do so much worse at GCSEs compared to their female classmates. And I think, actually, despite the fact that we've had a lot of fun asking the question, we're getting a lot of light in the answers. It does have something to do with boys being more easily distracted, a little bit more tiggerish, less mature, all of these things. But the problem that leaves us with is trying to account for why they overtake girls a couple of years or more down the line. And that I don't know. 0345 6060973. A lot of your callers are generalising, says James, about the sexes of our children. Of course you can. I mean, of course they are. And you can't do that with anything, really. Of course you can generalise. You just have to accept that there will be exceptions to any rule that you establish, James. He goes, I've got my 4 granddaughters staying here at the moment, and they are running me ragged. There's no sitting down with colouring books for them. I take your point. Of course we're generalising, but I guess when you have a conversation like this in a context such as this, you're left with little choice. Why would boys... When do boys overtake girls, and why? I'd love you to answer that as well. 0345 6060973. Ian's in Watford. Ian, what would you like to say?
Right, I've got answer to two questions. There is obviously a difference between girls' brains and boys' brains. Evidence is in the fact that I think you find a great deal more boys suffer with dyslexia than girls.
Why does that prove there's a big difference in brain? Just because that propensity means they must at least have that one thing distinguishing them from each other?
Well, they're obviously, as you said, you're generalising, but
yes,
you're taking a point that there obviously is, to a larger degree in some boys' brains, differences a larger degree.
But you're then extrapolating from that there are probably lots of differences in other parts of the brains as well, and you're perfectly entitled to do that.
Which is probability.
Yeah, sure.
The answer to the second question...
What was the second question again? I'm only in charge. I can't be expected to remember everything.
Why do boys go through the glass, go higher than the girls?
Yes.
There are two aspects to that. Aspect would be one, is that boys are generally naturally more aggressive, and that aggression to progress, as you're well aware, that many people who do reach the top of many industries, particularly in management area, are not necessarily academically the most outstanding.
What do you mean, as you're well aware?
Well, if you look at it, I mean...
Who are you thinking of, specifically, from my professional past?
Who maybe have got to Prime Minister and Chancellor, are not necessarily the most academically outstanding.
No, it's in fact, it's why we use the word donnish, isn't it, sometimes, to describe someone who's a bit dusty. They might be possessed of a brain the size of Birmingham, but common sense isn't the highest...
Yeah, I mean, and also the fact that obviously, particularly in men, as you would be aware, that many men who reach higher levels in industry are often tall. And as the same in American
tall?
politics as well. Tall, oh yes, because image is everything when you're doing management.
Is that true?
Oh gosh, yeah.
Well, don't say it like that, as if we're all a bit stupid. I've never picked up on that before. I always thought small people were overrepresented because they're so sort of... I don't want to upset anyone here, any stumpies, but short people are always so chippy.
They can be.
They've got something to prove all the time because they spend their whole life looking up my nostrils.
Yeah, but as a presentation and to do with image, I mean, for instance, I don't remember the president, guy who was trying to become president, was Dukakis.
Michael Dukakis.
Yeah. Who was only about 5'6", 5'7", and they knew he'd never get it.
Yeah, but Sarkozy won, so we can do this all day. Sarkozy was tiny, he had stacked heels. Sadiq Khan's very short, and he's mayor of London.
I think you'll find that Sarkozy may have been cheating some of the time, standing on boxes and stuff like that.
Exactly, he was very short.
Yeah, but France is a very...
We've called it wrong. I told the producer we should have done this. We shouldn't have done boys versus girls. We should have done tall versus short. But, how does Sadiq Khan fit into your analysis?
Interesting topic for you.
Yes, it is. I'll look at that another day. So, boys, is that unique? Say again?
The aggression factor.
Yes.
You know, to be more aggressive.
Why can't they direct their aggression at their studies then, at the age of 16? Why can't they see GCSEs as a sort of...
Because aggression is an emotion which you release immediately, and whereas study is a continuous thing you have to maintain.
Incorrigible FCA has endorsed your analysis. You'll be pleased to hear, Ian. He says he's right. Research shows that taller people tend to reach higher levels in the workplace. Higher shelves, maybe, but really? Higher levels? Being tall says you do better. Well, you live and learn. You heard it here. Well, not first. Obviously, just me that was unaware of this. A lot of my bosses have been quite short. I mean, generally. Also, you sort of find that sort of, that attitude, that sort of very chippy, something to prove attitude. That's often quite short people as well, but maybe the galleons quietly gliding through the oceans towards success and riches. Yeah, you're probably right. Tall people probably have it come to them a little more easily. 10:40 is the time. Ian, what a lovely call. Thank you so much. 0345 606 0973. I think the calls so far have proved you don't have to be punching particularly hard today, or indeed possessed of unique perspectives. Everyone's equal. These are the sort of conversations we'd have if we worked together. We're sitting around the table. GCSE results get published. We've exhausted our gossip about each other's love lives, and the Olympics has now sailed. So why do boys do so much worse than girls at GCSE? Why do you think it is, Doris? Phil's in Luton. Why do you think it is, Doris?
Hi, James. I think it's not necessarily to do with something that changes. I think that when we're younger, boys' main focus really is to try and impress girls. And that's fine and well and good in the classroom. But
is that true of everybody? I always wonder sometimes whether we look back on childhood and presume that our own childhood is common to everybody. There are plenty of boys who weren't that interested in impressing girls, weren't there, at 15, 16 years old?
No, I think it's got to be one of the...
Fair enough.
I think you're one of the few if you're not. And then when we get older, the way to impress women, as you know, you can't be a bum sitting on the street, so we do it via money. So I think that when we hit age of starting to work, that's when we're really started to get focused on getting more money. So we have to get a better job, and so that's what drives us then. So I think it's all about kind of a primitive thing of men trying to peacock to women all the time.
So it's all about sex for you?
Well, I wouldn't necessarily say it's all about sex.
Yeah, well, it is.
I suppose ultimately, yeah. But
the peacock example is a brilliant one. This is because in the people, this always comes as a surprise to me when I'm reminded of it. In the natural world, you would presume, because humans spend a little bit more time on their appearance and grooming than males do. I'm generalising again, but in the natural world, it's the other way around. All of the bright tails, all of the plumage, all of the mane on the lion, it's always the men, isn't it, who are preening. How do you preen as a man, as a human being? You preen with achievement rather than appearance, you're suggesting. I quite like this idea.
Yeah, I think it's massively down to do with... Oh, and by the way, just regarding your last caller, I'm delighted to say that I'm only 5'8", and I'm one of the highest levels in my organisation.
It depends what your organisation is.
True, I suppose. Well, it's retail.
Oh, there you go. Well, then, you're at a disadvantage with the shelves, then.
That's it.
But not the management achievements. Phil, thank you. 0345 606 0973. It is a bit. Caroline is not the only one to remind us of that old rhyme. Sugar and spice and all things nice versus slugs and snails and puppy dog's tails. There's a fundamental difference. Biological, genetic, I don't know, but all of these answers are interesting, aren't they? The idea that boys are too busy trying to impress girls by faffing about when they're 16, and by the time they're 25 they realise that to impress girls they've got to be on it, as the kids say. So that's why boys are more on it as adults than girls are. If you're a woman screaming blue murder at the radio in response to that analysis, you know what to do. 0345 6060 973. Women are historically less competitive than men. There's probably some truth in that. Part of the problem with this job is that the women that do it are not typical. The men that do it aren't typical either, but I often get frustrated when I hear female pundits or I read female pundits saying, oh, it's really easy to shrug off sexual harassment, oh, there's no such thing as it, because you sort of think you're very strong. You have a very strong personality or you have a very robust outlook. So it's fine for you to say that. That's mental strength. It would be a bit like telling me that I'm pathetic for not being able to pull a truck 100 metres down a road like they do on World's Strongest Man. I think mental strength and physical strength are a lot more similar to each other than perhaps we realise a lot of the time. And if you're lucky enough to be possessed of strength, then to malign those who aren't so lucky it's never a good look, is it? Why do you think boys do so much better than girls? We can focus on English. 15 percentage points better in English. Something to do with the nature of the exams. First caller suggested the GCSE coursework mode suiting the steady approach of girls more than perhaps the flurry of last-minute revision suiting boys. Sex. According to Phil, he was persuasive as well, wasn't he? The idea that you're trying to impress the opposite sex all the time if you're a man. As a teenage boy, you do that by walking on your hands, or whatever the modern equivalent might be. And as an adult man, you do that by achieving things. 03456060973 if you've got a different answer. It is 10:51. You're listening to James O'Brien on LBC. I should have asked Charlotte why girls are cleverer than boys, shouldn't I? She's sort of a living embodiment of it, but I won't. I'll ask Joe in Sheffield instead. Joe, why do girls do so much better than boys at GCSE?
If I had that answer, I'd be doing a different job. Just a few thoughts from me is that I've got a 2-year-old son at home, and I have a 2-year-old almost identical niece. Seeing the way that they develop, my son is speaking very well, but in very short bursts, whereas the girl at the same age is almost fluid sentences. So, that's my toy, please give it back, whereas my son will just scream the house down saying give.
And that's got nothing to do with sort of trying to impress the opposite sex or I mean, that's just...
I think there's a lot of nature versus nurture, isn't there?
There might be, yeah.
But I think when it comes down to it, I think physiologically you have to remember that, evolutionary terms were not that far removed from our ancestors, and men were the hunter-gatherers and women were the stay-at-home homemakers, as it were. So I think their mental attributes probably reflect that a little bit better.
Really? I don't know that you need a particularly big brain to go out and bag a brace of deer, do you? In fact, I'd argue that, in fact, if you were looking at English, you surely, and to use your sort of slightly crusty analysis, if you were staying at home to actually talk to people, communicate, and deal with sort of slightly more complicated issues than hurling a spear at a stag, I don't know that I'm going to allow your sort of male-female dichotomy on this one to hold water.
Well, I just think when it breaks it down...
That's why they'd be better at PE, mate, not why they'd be better at trigonometry.
Yeah, but if you think about it as well, women are often the centerpins of social groups. I mean, I know from my own experience, my grandmother was always the matriarch of the family, which is that was always involved in the social aspects of it, which obviously you're going to get language coming into that, and English, and that mental fortitude is going to carry over there. That's just my personal thoughts anyway. But,
I like it. Why did men overtake then? Why do we overtake? So your niece will, at some point, harder maybe to believe at this point in the process, your niece will probably end up being overtaken by your son.
If I'm honest, I just think it's a boys' club. It's just what it's been, and it's what it will continue to be unless we have some change. But what I was saying to your researcher as well is that I'm actually, as a man, I'm rather proud that we're kind of being overtaken. You've obviously got Theresa May, and then fingers crossed Clinton will beat that lunatic, and you might have some women at the top. And one thing that Hillary Clinton said going back 6 months or so, and I think it was massively overlooked, is that she's going to try and bring a little bit more love to the world. And I think that is something that, because I think obviously men are full of testosterone. Obviously I'm generalising, but I think are less rash, less prone to anger, a little bit more analytical, and if things get a bit sticky, then I think they would be less keen to rush to war, and maybe a little bit more.
You might be right. Hillary Clinton's not the best example of that. She is quite hawkish, I suppose, and I resisted the urge then to suggest that the women you cite aren't necessarily particularly feminine, because I think that would be quite an ugly observation to make. I know what you mean. I mean, I've had female bosses. Some of them were more. What's the right word to say? Aggressive? Not quite. Some I want to say masculine. Some of them displayed traits that I associate with masculinity on a greater scale than some of my male bosses have. But we've already established that the generalisation is going to be inevitable in a conversation like this. The boys are wasting their energy. The boys who are wasting their energy chasing girls are at home playing computer games. You might be right. Hugo's in Chelmsford. Hugo, what do you think?
Well, I think that women grow up in a society ruled by men.
Yes.
So from a young age, they learn that in order to succeed in that society, they have to prove themselves. And this explains why girls will do better in exams, because they know that if they don't get exam qualifications, they will not succeed. Whereas with a man, if he misses exam qualifications, as you say, he can get by with his aggression and his confidence. But I might add that if a girl were to exhibit that confidence or that aggression, she might be labelled as the B word or be framed incredibly negatively and find no success at all.
That's a really strong analysis, Hugo, actually. I kind of understand exactly what you're driving at, and there's some truth in it as well. You're describing the intellectual equivalent of how we approach promiscuity, aren't you? In boys, it's wonderful and hilarious slap on the back stuff, and in girls, it's public shame.
Well, yeah, exactly that. And you might see a situation where you think that women are allowed to talk freely, but as you said rightly earlier, many of the women that talk freely are very confident. And I think if often you're in a room full of people talking, even if it's half and half, you stop and take a step back and think to yourself, who's talking the most? What you'll see is the men are talking the most over the women, and the women have learned to be quiet when men talk over them. Whereas when a man talks over a man, he just becomes louder, and it becomes a sort of aggressive standoff.
Yes.
It's not because men are all naturally more aggressive. You have less and more aggressive boys and less and more aggressive girls. It's that the man is just rewarded when he's young for being aggressive, because we see it within our culture's lens as a positive thing for a man to be, but a bad thing for a woman to be.
You're right, and I don't know now, listening to you, whether or not it is necessarily a good thing to encourage a daughter to be more outspoken. I mean, I certainly try to do that with mine. The notion of me talking over the 3 women in my life over the dinner table is laughable. Anyone who's heard me do it for a living on the radio would be staggered by how rarely I get a word in edgeways at home. Hugo, great stuff. Abbas, I'm really short of time. I'm sorry, because you are actually a teacher.
Yeah, no, that's right. Just quickly agree with a lot of the points of the last caller, especially. Other things I think that make a big difference is, first of all, obviously with single parents, it means that most of the time boys have just got mothers at home, so they lack the sort of father figure, which means that they're less sort of able to maturely, I guess, manage their emotions. As a head of year, I see a lot of fights and whatnot, which usually includes boys. Doesn't mean that girls don't get into fights and whatnot.
Sure.
The other thing is, I think that girls, are a little bit more intellectually organised, and I think that's why it changes later on. I think girls are good at being able to sort of analyse and compartmentalise stuff. They're good at approaching, for example, subjects like English and history and the rest of it. Whereas boys, I think they lack that kind of structure and mental maturity, but I think that kind of changes later on
as they get older, and also as they, as Carolyn Stanmore suggested, as they focus more on subjects that they've chosen to study rather than having to tick all the boxes of the compulsory ones and the ones that they can't necessarily see the points of. Abbas, you used the available time quite brilliant.